Hey Urs, how you doing here at NAMM? How's the jet lag? How's the feet?
Yeah, jet lagging really only came 2 days ago, and it's like this constant noise and everything here, and yeah, so I'm kind of pulling through. Yeah.
And we haven't even got any Californian sun. It's a real, I feel really ripped. No sun in California.
No sun,
What's
no,
going on
actually,
here?
yeah.
Ripped off.
Yeah, we got, we paid for something else, but yeah.
So tell us, what are we looking at here today?
So this is Filterscape, and Filterscape is one of our first plugins. It's really old, but we always thought it's a really good idea, but the idea got a little bit lost over the years because it became a dated and an old plugin. It was a little bit like orphaned in our catalog. So a couple of years ago we started updating these orphan and old plugins, and recently we re-released more Feedback Machine, and that was very successful and gave it a whole new breath of life.
Right.
And we hope to do the same thing for Filterscape. And Filterscape is actually it's supposed to be a simple plugin, but it's not simple at all.
It looks pretty complicated.
Yeah, it is. And the old user interface, the old one was like even more complicated. But here now we have a new design, and it's nice and tidy. So up here you have this. This is a 4-band EQ, and you have 8 snapshots, and each snapshot can be a different EQ setting, and you can just modulate and run through it. So this is useful. Like when you have different song sections, you want to have a different EQ. It's like the A/B thing, but 8-wise, or eightfold.
And also, I mean, just you can modulate the speed, because I have a friend, Gaz Williams. He says that he puts these very slow, slight moving dynamic EQs across mixes, and everything comes to life.
I will get to dynamic EQs with this.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then the fun thing is here, you can modulate the frequency, the Q, and the gain for each band separately, and also separately for each snapshot.
Wow.
So, yeah, well, that makes it complex. It's really crazy stuff. So you can have one snapshot with a very fast modulation somewhere, and then another snapshot which is really slow, or one snapshot which doesn't have modulation at all. So that's the base concept of the EQ section, and it also does filters and parallel bandpass filters, and has various modes. And then also you have normal filters like state variable filters, which have like a low pass, bandpass, high pass, and notch. And then here you can modulate, you can go through the different filter responses and modulate the angle and the radius. And in the middle it's an all pass filter. And again, each of these bands can be panned in the stereo field, and so it does all of these like fly around things and everything. You've got 2 of those, and there's a mixer section here. There are 2 mixers, and here is the routing. So you can have different routings where the mixers do different things, like mix one filter against the other, or mix the EQ against something, and that kind of stuff.
Series of parallel, or
yeah,
whatever,
all of the different configurations are possible. And then you've got modulation. So modulation is envelope followers, and they have like various modes, and smooth and attack and release, and they have filters like bandpass filters, low pass filters, high pass filters. So you can do like de-essers or trigger modulation on a bass drum, or all of that kind of stuff. And then, so this is where the dynamic EQ comes in, right? So you've got 4 envelope followers. They can do anything on all the bands, and you can use one modulation on different parts and at different strength, or invert it, all of that. And then there's like little sequences here, which are very simple step sequences for choppy stuff and whatever there is. And you've got LFOs, and you also have a delay that can sit in various parts of the.
You can filter the delay,
feedback.
feedback.
And you can have like the EQ in the delay or whatever, and it's crazy and crazy complex in that way, even though it's a simple idea, and we think that with this new design, which is I must admit much nicer than what I did 20 years ago or 18 years ago. We think it's going to be more accessible to everybody. And that's just one thing, because Filterscape is a plug-in bundle consisting of 3 things. But let me just quickly hit the space button so we have an audio example. So this is a loop going through this thing. And the only thing we hear really is the equalizer. And you see how it works there, and that's,
oh, that's interesting. I'm hearing this kind of, the top end is stereo different to the rest of it somehow.
Yeah.
Sounds like that.
So that, this is it used the envelope follower to modulate things. And
okay, so you use that as a source. Nice.
And the step sequencer is doing something. So, it's very simple, but you can go as complex as you want, like with things that evolve over hours,
So, I mean, it can be both for creative work, but also mastering by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
It's very accurate, right?
Yeah, and I got to say that one thing that's important that I want to point out is that the old plugin also, of course, had really old code, like the old DSP code, and replaced all of that, almost all of it, with analog models, like just more modern code that reacts better to modulation, and it just grabs the signal better, or whatever you want to say about it.
Okay,
right?
Is there a difference between vintage code and modern code in terms of sound? Should we be looking for the certain legacy of code?
Well, I always said that analog is more precise than digital, right? And now we have those models that are like really more precise and more analog and vintage sounding, and it makes a difference, right? And what we have done here as well is, because these filters are state variable filters, right? So they're like the type that you have in many synths, like multi-mode filters, or classically in the Oberheim synths, right? Yeah. So in here, I have to just quickly go here and show that we added new modes. So currently here's the legacy. That's the original Filterscape mode. And here is a linear version of it, which is analog modeled but without distortion. And then we have an actual analog modeled version of it, which is the analog 2-pole. And I think this is kind of a premiere in software. We also did a 3-pole version and a 4-pole version. And the 4-pole version is not just two state variables in series, it's a true 4-pole state variable, analog modeled. And it's, you have to just try it, right? It's really something different, and something that you don't really get anywhere. I think the only 4-pole state variables that I know are in Eurorec.
Right.
I think there's 2 that I really know, and there's also a 3-pole by one guy. I don't know who it is, but. So these exist, but they've never been used in vintage stuff, and it was not easy to model because we had no real. We don't have schematics. It didn't have schematics.
So it's a 2-channel stereo, is it? This thing?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
everything's stereo, of course.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah,
have we got
that is the original Filterscape effect. We call it now FX, and of course we have all the nice stuff. We have clap support. We have Apple Silicon support, right? We put in our preset browser, everything, all of that. And now I need the right key combinations. And, it's because I'm still in this, yeah. So, and the other thing is, it's a bundle, as I said, and there is, you asked about using it like not creatively but more precisely. So we also have an actual only EQ version, which has got 6 bands and 4 envelope followers.
Right.
So it can do all the snapshotting and everything over these 6 bands, and all the dynamic stuff from the envelope followers, and also per snapshot modulations and all that. So you can make de-essers and stuff. But here, in this example, there is basically a phaser, right? So, and I can just press space again, and then we'll see it.
It's a dynamic phaser.
Yeah, it's a dynamic phaser, yeah.
So is that just left and right? Is doing? Is that left and right? So it's doing cut and boost, or is it? I'm not quite.
No, it should actually be mono in a way, but maybe I guess the loop is already stereo.
Ah, okay,
Yeah.
got it. Interesting.
Okay. So this is our more surgical version of it. So it's got a bigger EQ thing, and it's got the usual stuff that you drag these bands around, and yeah, it works pretty easy and intuitively. And then, because we also do synths, there's also a synth version for it. So this is a
Oh, that's nice.
right. So it uses the snapshot EQ as kind of like for like form synthesis kind of thing, and you know it's a free-form version of something that basically EMU used to do with their Z-plane filters, where they had like different kinds of morphs between different settings, and this is here you can like freely draw a similar thing in a way.
Right, but you've got more familiar sort of slider envelopes
and it's otherwise it's just a simple 2 oscillator, 1 sub oscillator, 2 LFOs, 3 envelopes, a filter, amp, and
so it is an instrument. Oh,
it is an instrument.
Okay,
yes, it's a synth, and it's got wavetables, but they're like they're preset wavetables, but we're adding new wavetables to it in the process at the moment. And the filter itself also had like all of these. These are the first 6 are the original ones from the original software, and then we put all the 2-pole, 3-pole, and 4-pole versions of the state variable from the other plugin in here too.
Oh, nice.
And here they're self-oscillating, and they drive nicely. So they're like, the state variable has this property that the actual drive is on the feedback, and the feedback is the bandpass output, and that creates a drive that's happening on the frequencies around the cutoff frequency. So it drives, but it drives like it's almost like a multiband distortion, right? So
Right.
it only drives a certain area of the spectrum, and that makes it so I think
cleaner,
creamy.
and cleaner, I suppose, as well, because it's less.
And yeah, so on this one also has an arpeggiator chorus and delay, and let me just quickly conjure a. I do an init, and I'll just quickly show you here the. So. So this just does this.
Interesting, yeah, I can hear it's got.
Okay, I might have to turn that down a bit because.
Oh, those harmonics go right the way down. Right.
And yeah, first of all, it goes all the way down, all the way up, and it's actually self-oscillating. So we tweaked it, you know, in the original state variable, the vintage one can't self-oscillate, and there's a few tweaks one can do, and then it does that. And it's not so easy to actually do it so that it sounds good over the whole range. But I think we tweak that to work that way.
Excellent.
And now let me also conjure or bring up here the 3-pole version. Right. And the 4-pole version. And
yeah, they're quite different, aren't they?
yeah.
Yeah.
And let me just quickly also maybe add an envelope.
Drive again has quite an effect on their resonance as well. So
yeah. So nice. I think they sound really nice, and I think that this new design, a couple new interesting features, and the one thing that we never had. So we were always so Yuhi is kind of famous for its analog filter models in Diva and Repro and also in Zebra HZ, but we never had a filter plugin that had those.
Right.
And but we had filter plugins, right? So now we have filter plugins that also have these filters, and they're stereo and they sound nice. They do not kill your CPU. Last time I checked, they didn't. And I just really, I'm actually quite proud of these because they are also something that we didn't have an example for, really. We didn't have schematics for it. There was nobody I know has done this before.
Right, so you're breaking new ground. So are these available now? Is this prototype or is this released?
It's like, we're still doing last finishing steps and stuff. But I mean, it's it now goes into a stage where the content guys, like Howard Scar and Victor, they will create a few presets and arrange some things, and also explore the new filters and the new features, and come up with a whole new rounded patch library. We hope.
Yeah, so when are we going to see it? Do you think spring, summer? When will we see this?
Say again?
When will you release, do you think?
Oh, well, I can never say when it's actually going to be released, right?
Soon, sometime.
Soon, coming soon, and probably soon. I hope soon, actually really soon, going into like a beta phase, right? So where we do a public beta maybe at some point, and then usually when it's public beta, it's like 6 weeks, 2 months.
Okay, so in a few months.
We try to be reasonable about things there. Yeah.
Brilliant.
So that's Filterscape there.
Thank you very much, Urs.
Yeah.